In 2009, Gordon Ramsay headed for the hot, sandy beaches of Miami, Florida. Known for its Latin-inspired culture, it's not an obvious place to find a traditional Danish restaurant. Andy Hall and his wife Suzanne purchased Fleming, a taste of Denmark, when it was a thriving Miami hotspot. 8 years later, Andy has worked hard to maintain the restaurant's popularity by keeping every single element of the business exactly the same.
The whole idea for us was to try and keep it as much the same.
Despite knowing little about Scandinavian food themselves, Andy and Suzanne were confident that, following a difficult search, they had finally found a talented chef with an understanding of Danish cuisine. Meet Orlando.
Orlando is a classically trained chef.
Very Danish food today, huh?
At least his bandana is in the colors of the Danish flag. While Orlando competently cooked the traditional Danish favorites, he was uncomfortable with the bland nature of the menu. His ideas for adding spice and flavor to the old-style Danish dishes were ignored by traditionalist Andy, who was focused on keeping the restaurant's loyal customer base happy. Unfortunately, those customers are, as owner Suzanne calls them, old farts, and the overflowing dining room of 15 years ago has fallen away, leaving most tables empty, even at weekends.
All the servers, they read the obituaries to see if our customers are listed on there.
The couple are struggling with huge amounts of debt, and it's not just the business that's at risk. The restaurant and the couple's home mortgage are tied into one combined loan. With the threat of losing their home putting a constant strain on the pair's marriage, Andy's refusal to listen to others becoming more of a frustration to Suzanne. Despite expressing her complete trust in her husband, the clock is ticking to return the business to profitability. Gordon arrives at the restaurant excited to meet Danish immigrants who have brought a taste of their culture to the USA. Greeting them in Danish with a dictionary in his hand, Andy and Suzanne have to admit they don't speak the language. The chef is Cuban, and the only Danish element of the restaurant is some influences in the food. Andy explains that the restaurant is named after the original owner and that he's kept everything as Fleming left it, including the pink decor.
Somebody colorblind?
Yeah, actually, I am.
You are?
Yeah.
As a hidden test for the owner, the shirt Gordon wears on his arrival appears to be a subtle color blindness assessment. It has giant hidden numbers on each side and a hard-to-see color. On the way to his table, Gordon walks past what he calls a dessert museum, displayed on a counter, directly outside the bathroom door. He takes his place in the dining room and asks his server about the decor, which she admits hasn't changed in the 15 years she's been working there.
Me, it's almost antique. It's like walking into Grandma's house.
Oh, say goodbye to Grandma.
The server presents him with a complimentary creux d'été, which is served with every meal, reminding Gordon of his grandfather's 80th birthday. Not a great start. Next, he samples a cured salmon gravlax, which is tough, leathery, and tastes like flypaper. A resemblance unfortunately reinforced as he finds a dead fly on the side of his plate. As the chef, Orlando, watches nervously through the kitchen door, Gordon tastes a bland, mushy fricadella and a dry, overcooked grandfather duck. The only moment that brings a genuine smile to the chef's face during what he calls a dreadful meal is when Gordon spots one of the servers, Cindy, giving a customer a dessert to take home wrapped in an aluminum foil swan. Reminding him of his 6th birthday party, the chef decides he will be ordering a dessert just to get one of the elegant swans, and asks for a tableside tutorial. He gleefully claps his hands and tells the delighted Cindy that he loves her work. This happy interval is short-lived as Gordon is ready to wave the flag to surrender after his horrible dining experience.
Tell the chef I surrender. No more, please. God bless Denmark.
Gordon heads into the kitchen to confront the owners and chef about the disastrous meal, branding it some of the worst food he's ever eaten. That evening, as word of Gordon's arrival spreads, the dining room is full of customers for the first time in 5 years. The staff prepare themselves for a busy night, and Suzanne once again reiterates her faith in her husband's ability to pull off a successful sitting. Orders start pouring in, and entrees begin leaving the kitchen quickly. Unfortunately, they start returning at an equally rapid rate. Complaints about the blandness of the food are reported back to the kitchen, causing frustration for the chef and apparent surprise for Andy, who defends the traditional Danish dishes, repeating that they haven't changed in 25 years. With the owners pacifying guests in the dining room, Chef Ramsay takes the opportunity to check out the food storage unit, and what he finds causes him to stop the service. Gordon pulls out a metal tray containing defrosting duck portions, along with a whole cooked duck sitting in the raw meat juices. The owners are horrified as they find out that duck is being eaten at that very moment in the dining room next door. Realizing the dangerous health implications of this discovery, Gordon rushes to the dining room to stop any more duck being consumed.
Is that the duck? I'm so sorry. I'll explain in 2 seconds. Do excuse me.
Chef Orlando reacts with horror, but fails to explain who was responsible for this basic food storage mistake. Unusually, Gordon doesn't hold him fully accountable.
Stop! We're not serving another fucking duck out there! We just contaminated the whole place!
Andy announces confidently that none of the food being served is dangerous, and he is happy that throwing the duck away is enough of a response to Gordon's disgusting findings. It's the first time that Suzanne's unshakable faith in her husband appears to waver. Gordon is stunned and shuts the restaurant down for the night. In a tearful heart-to-heart outside the restaurant, Suzanne admits that following the evening's service, she feels let down by Andy. And Gordon's frustration with Andy's blasé attitude leaves him less confident that he can help the couple turn their restaurant around. The next day, Gordon braves a rainstorm to chat to locals and carry out some grassroots research. He discovers that the restaurant's reputation is damaged, and that it is seen as somewhere catering only for the elderly, putting younger people off trying it. At a meeting that morning, the staff acknowledges the need for change. Orlando suggests a new contemporary menu, and the restaurant manager, Crystal, calls out Andy's fear of failure that's preventing him from making changes. Suzanne tells Andy that she understands why he's terrified of changing the previously winning formula, and he responds that he's afraid of alienating the customers that they currently have if new ideas don't work. But ultimately, Andy agrees that it's time for a dramatic change. The first step is to update the bland, outdated Danish menu. Gordon removes the restrictions from the chefs and encourages them to use their natural flair when creating new, exciting dishes. Gordon himself adds a seared tuna dish to the new menu, which will be a better reflection of Miami's style, taste, and culture than the bland Danish cuisine. Next, it's time for Gordon's team to work through the night to deliver one of the most ambitious restaurant makeovers ever seen on Kitchen Nightmares. The dated, uninviting pink decor has gone, and in its place is a warm and elegant dining room that reflects a new, modern era. Classic Tudor brown woodwork is complemented by warm wall lamps that make the color really stand out. Clean lines and contemporary nature-themed artwork featuring leaves and beach pebbles add interest to the white walls. A new Birds of Flight theme across wall decals and window blinds is an emblem of hope and new beginnings. The entrance area and bar have been improved, with comfortable cream chairs, leather-topped bar stools, and classic granite countertops. Andy and Suzanne cry happy tears along with their staff. Gordon encourages Andy to embrace the change and really make the restaurant his own. To market the restaurant to a new, younger clientele, Gordon works with 2 local designers to organize a swimsuit fashion show. The crowd is certainly made up of more youthful faces than the usual Fleming crowd, and the servers express their confidence that the word will spread, and the restaurant's phone will be ringing off the hook. A surprise addition to the catwalk is Andy, who has a new, updated look. Strutting his stuff with a big smile on his face, Andy's makeover certainly seems to have prepared him perfectly for a fresh, new start. In the hours before the relaunch, Gordon reveals a modern menu, more suited for a Miami restaurant. New dishes include a modern twist on classic crab cakes, rock shrimp lettuce cups, and pan-seared grouper filet seasoned with spicy chorizo, playing on Orlando's Cuban influence. Desserts will no longer be displayed outside the bathroom doors. Instead, a simple dessert trolley will tempt diners at their tables. The Danish influence is long gone, and the staff are delighted when they taste the delicious new dishes. Relaunch night begins with an anxious but re-energized Andy. Gordon reveals that Daquan Cook, a Miami Heat basketball player, will be coming along to sample the food, adding to the nerves. With the new menu, all entrees now come with a house, Caesar, or wedge salad. Sounds simple, right? As the salads start leaving the kitchen, Suzanne discovers that the Caesar salads mistakenly contain carrots and radishes along with the typical croutons. Gordon heads to the dining room to remove salads that have already been served from surprise diners, while the chef explains how the mistake was made.
It's very complicated salad.
Complicated? My gran could do better. And she's dead.
The relaunch is under threat as the salads are remade and the complicated cold food orders start backing up the kitchen. Customers begin to lose patience after waiting 40 minutes for a simple lettuce dish. Finally, an hour into service, entrees begin making their way to diners, but the kitchen's outdated equipment is about to once again bring everything to a standstill. With half the range not working, Gordon leaves the chefs to tinker with the faulty burners, trying to relight the stove. Suddenly, Andy smells burning and discovers that the range is now on fire. Chef Ramsay is alerted by the smell of smoke in the dining room and is a picture of cool and calm as he takes control of the kitchen, extinguishing the fire and reminding the chefs that regularly cleaning stoves are safer stoves. Without the faulty range, the chefs are now down to 6 working burners, but pull together and get the service back on track. Diners love the new menu, and the dessert trolley is a particular hit. With clean plates all around, Cindy is nothing to box, so Gordon's beloved aluminum swans have completely disappeared. Gordon was happy to feel a new energy in the restaurant and was impressed by the team's passion and determination to succeed. But there was a big problem that Gordon felt he still needed to fix before leaving. He calls the staff outside and reveals a brand new, state-of-the-art Vulcan kitchen, giving Orlando and the other chefs everything they need to produce exciting new dishes. A 6-ring burner, convection oven, and fryer would be installed later that night. Andy and Suzanne were relieved and delighted that they now had everything they needed to embrace Gordon's changes. And in the days following Gordon's visit, Fleming became a Miami hotspot once again.
Man, Fleming's is going to be around for at least another 20 years. Hi, welcome to Fleming's. Have a seat, we'll be right there.
What happened next at Fleming? Following Gordon's visit, some complained that his transformation of the struggling restaurant went too far. It seemed that Andy was not alone in his worries about losing the loyal clientele they had held on to over the years, with some describing the restaurant as having a cult following prior to the revamp. The restaurant was known by some as a hidden gem, which was popular with Scandinavian locals and visitors, and unique in its offerings. And while it wasn't packed out, it wasn't obviously failing either. Customers who enjoyed their dining experience described it as quiet rather than empty. Previous visitors also denied that it was only oldies who ate there, saying that diners of all ages enjoyed the food and ambience, and the Kitchen Nightmares ageism narrative was unfair. Realistically, it seems that Gordon's analysis of the restaurant and its success was closer to the truth. Yelp reviews totaled 2.8 out of 5 prior to Gordon's revamp, and suggested the previous gem of a restaurant's food was underseasoned. The decor was outdated, and the atmosphere was, well, a little dead. So while it's true that Miami's competing Cuban-inspired restaurants are plentiful, and Fleming had at one point benefited from its solo status, it's also true that the once thriving restaurant couldn't have continued for much longer without intervention. It seems that in the weeks after Gordon's visit, Andy's fear of change crept back in. While he did try to create more new opportunities with early bird specials and theme nights, 2 months after Gordon left, some old favorites were added back to the menu, alongside the new dishes. They also brought back the antiquated cru d'été and the bathroom break dessert bar, which Andy insisted his customers had missed. The owners tried hard to combine the best of both worlds to attract customers, both old and new. Sadly, this episode of Kitchen Nightmares led to accusations of fakery. An article in the Miami Herald soon after filming took place in July 2009 detailed the journalist's experience. He took exception to being asked by a producer not to take notes about the food and program production at the table as he ate. While he was offended, that actually seems perfectly fair, as it's not usually part of an authentic dining experience. The next complaint was that the diners weren't real customers, and some of them admitted that they hadn't even heard of the restaurant before the evening in question. That situation won't come as a surprise to regular Kitchen Nightmares viewers. The program itself is clear that word of Gordon's arrival often creates a huge amount of local interest, and attracts a crowd to previously empty restaurants. Would the journalist himself have been there if Gordon hadn't? Finally, diners were asked to signal to a producer if they were about to make a comment or complaint about their food, and to speak loudly and clearly. Diners obviously know that their evening is being recorded, with cameras catching the action as it happens. So again, that appears less fakery and more clarity. None of the accusations in the article seem to suggest that any of the action that took place during the episode is anything other than reality. In the same article, Andy comments that he was disappointed with the amount of time he got to spend with Gordon off camera. He had apparently hoped to soak up more of Gordon's expertise during the experience. As Gordon and his team filmed at Fleming over a period of 6 days and gave Andy new decor and kitchen equipment on top of a menu redesign, it might seem a little unfair to expect more, particularly as Gordon has his own restaurants to run. Despite Chef Ramsay's intervention and the entire team's hard work over the following 15 months, Fleming, A Taste of Denmark, closed its doors to customers forever in October 2010, 5 months after the episode aired. We should make it clear at this point that there is a Fleming steakhouse in Wine Bar in Miami that has no connection to the Fleming and Kitchen Nightmares and is still open with great reviews. But what has happened to Gordon's Fleming restaurant, and more importantly, the owners since then? After Fleming's closed its doors, the location became a gym franchise, Orange Theory Fitness Pinecrest. With a 4.3 out of 5 Yelp rating, it appears to be more popular than its predecessor and would have been the perfect place to work off whatever Cindy was hiding in those decorative swans. But let's get to the Fleming's team, who won the hearts of both Gordon and the viewers. Orlando the chef was described repeatedly by fans as warm, fun, loyal, talented, and passionate. And Gordon had obviously respect for him, despite the duck fiasco, which went on to be voted one of the worst dishes ever seen on Kitchen Nightmares. And then there was Cindy, who viewers suspect was being gently mocked by Gordon over her elaborate swans, but was too sweet for him to poke fun at directly. Sadly, Orlando and Cindy don't have a public presence since the closure of Fleming, but we do have an update on the owners. In August 2010, 2 months before the closure of Fleming, Andy accepted a role as Associate Director of Resident Dining for Chartwell's in their higher education division. Chartwell's operates on 300 campuses around the country, including Miami University, with a goal of reinventing the on-campus dining experience. So, despite his fear of restaurant failure sadly becoming a reality, Andy is still working in the food sector. His LinkedIn profile states that he officially left Fleming in June 2010, suggesting that he realized Gordon's adjustments weren't going to make a big enough change soon after the show aired. Following the closure of the restaurant, Suzanne took a role as an academic advisor at the University of Miami, where she had previously studied psychology and sociology, graduating in 2006. According to her Facebook page, she has since retired from this role, but Andy continues to have links with the university. A 2021 post from Suzanne shows that Andy was seeking both part-time and full-time employees for the food kiosk and convenience store he manages on the Coral Gables campus. During their Kitchen Nightmares experience, the couple were open and honest about the strain that their financial pressures were placing on them as individuals and as a couple. Despite that, Suzanne's faith in her husband was unwavering, and she appeared to trust Andy even more than Chef Ramsay throughout most of the process. We're happy to see that the couple are still together. Let's hope that the sale of the restaurant relieved the financial stress and that they are as happy, healthy, and laid back as they seem.